my skin. Stack up those dreams, won't let them go. Some way, somehow, my day will come. This is my time, gonna light it up. Stepping out into the unknown. Stepping out, oh, stepping out to whatever's coming on. Stepping out, I'm a man on fire. Sounds crazy, but I never lose. Oh, you know I'm gonna give it all I got. Do what I came to do. I'm a man on fire, and my day is overdue. This burn is never gonna stop. Do what I came to do. I'm a man on fire. But back to the wall is how I live my life. I risk it all, put it on the line, then blow it up every single time. It's a big world, I'll take it in. If I don't try, how can I win? This chance might never come again. Stepping out into the unknown. Stepping out, oh, stepping out to whatever's coming on. Stepping out, I'm a man on fire. Sounds crazy, but I never lose. Oh, you know I'm gonna give it all I got. Do what I came to do. I'm a man on fire, and my day is overdue. This burn is never gonna stop. Do what I came to do. I'm a man on fire. Oh, 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 oh. I'm a man on fire. Oh, 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 oh. I'm a man on fire. Stepping out into the unknown. Stepping out, oh, stepping out to whatever's coming on. Stepping out, I'm a man on fire. Sounds crazy, but I never lose. Oh, you know I'm gonna give it all I got. Do what I came to do. I'm a man on fire, and my day is overdue. This burn is never gonna stop. Do what I came to do. I'm a man on fire.
Happy Tuesday, April 4th, 2023. It's Chris and Mark with the NWA Exchange Podcast. The only podcast you can listen to everything about Bella Vista and beyond. Well, we got some national news to talk about, y'all. Let's get into it right now. What's up, buddy?
Hey, man, how's it going?
Well, we got some national news to talk about, but we also have some local news to talk about. SB 197 is going back to the Senate tomorrow afternoon. Dude, does it not feel like we are just like beating this horse? We're beating a dead horse, brother. Like, go continue, please.
We can't even get out of the gates with this thing. What day? I mean, it's supposed to be done prior to spring break. We're fast forward. We're going to go into April 5th.
But now we're going to ask for a financial impact study, you know, like on the freaking 25th hour, right? Like, I don't know, shout out to that state representative who's like, well, but.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe.
Right. I thought the vote was already done and it could, but apparently it isn't. I guess it's still on the docket for tomorrow and we'll see what happens. Yeah. But you can't, it's it just shows you how dysfunctional things
Oh
are,
yeah,
man.
it's
It's just
dysfunctional. Like a it's a hard knock life. Like kids are, dancing around the orphanage. It's a hard knock life. Like that's the state legislature at this point, man. I mean, like
when
you've
were
got
we
guys
okay with
talking about
mediocrity?
parking problems. Parking problems. That was one of the public
Right.
input comments from a state representative about parking. Like, well, excuse me, but all these people coming in for short-term rental and stuff, what would that be like if it was a long-term rental? Well, Bob, if they don't have adequate parking space, then and they have a family of 7 people who drive, there's probably going to be some parking problems, Bob. But that should all be
Right.
handled by, I don't know, maybe local ordinances and regulations prohibiting, parking on the on-street surfaces. Well, okay, Bob got shut down, but then this guy just comes out of left wing. He's like, "Well, what about the people that aren't renting there? During the off season and stuff. What's this going to do for the tax base of the city?" Tax base of the city? What are you talking about, Willis? What are you talking about? Right? They're paying property tax. They're paying municipal taxes,
Yeah,
because they
regardless, they're
own
still getting their
property
tax
there,
money.
right? They still
Right.
have to
Yeah,
pay
you don't
taxes.
understand it.
No, you're conflating an issue. Again, all this conflation. Like,
It's the village
how many
idiot.
vaccines did these politicians get? That's the question that really is like in the back of my mind, man. Cognitive function's not working. There's got
I
to
don't. I just.
obviously there seems to be a breakdown in communication. What we have here is a failure to communicate between the medulla oblongata and the
I just
cerebral
can't wrap my head
cortex.
around it,
I mean,
man.
I don't know,
Well,
man. There's
it's
something
like
wrong
having
here.
it's like the what was it, the Benevolent Police Association, whatever it was, that were against the STR because they'd have to
It's
show
going
up.
to
They'd
create a
have to show
response and
up.
a increase in response times, like
But
y'all
we already
responded to
know.
begin with,
Right.
right?
Well, the data that was provided before about all the complaints, there was what, 4 or 5 over 600 in 4 or 5 years. I don't know what it was, but regardless, if you're a taxpayer and you have an issue and you call the police, it doesn't matter who's there, whether it's a short-term rental owner, actual resident, a long-term rental owner, you have a responsibility to show up. So I don't.
Well,
I'm troubled by.
apparently their response time is going to get increased when people have called and said, "Hey, man, there are people shooting off fireworks at the short-term rental owner." Dude, I've watched all these meetings, man. People have actually legitimately complained to the city council. These people were shooting off fireworks. I called. Nobody showed up. How's that going to increase your response time? You ain't even showing up to begin with, bro. You got to complain about this shit, but you got to show up. You got to actually engage in the game first before you can complain about increased response times. We've heard enough complaints about,
Yeah.
I've called, nobody showed up, nobody ever made contact. We've heard enough of those complaints, right? So, again, something wrong here.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of people coming up and just with the conjecture, I mean, that has no bearing on anything. Anybody can speculate about stuff,
I can
I mean, it's
speculate
just,
about a lot of stuff, man, if you want me to, but we ain't got time for that. So,
yeah, totally agree, man. But hopefully we can get this past us. I mean, it's ridiculous, man. I don't see why you wouldn't want to approve this
why
bill.
somebody would
you
want a
know?
financial impact study on like the freaking 25th hour? I don't know. It tells me that they maybe the lobbyists from the hotel industry or somebody else got to them. But regardless, we're
Right.
gonna go ahead and roll this beautiful bean footage because that's what we do over here. If you didn't catch Monday's meeting, well, here it is. Apologize. Audio is not
It's Josh, right?
By city ordinance. Representative Long, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, you mentioned earlier that about the POA situation, that I believe it was the Supreme Court ruled that because it was not commercial, would it prohibit POAs and subdivision covenants from specifying that they don't want short-term rentals.
It does not. In fact, the Supreme Court decision actually stated that that is through a bill of assurance or your covenants and restrictions, that is paramount to anything below it about use as a short-term rental.
So like in a situation where subdivision didn't initially state no short-term rentals because it didn't exist back at that point, there's no problem with them going back and amending their covenant?
There's not, absolutely not.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Representative Holcomb, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Bryant, we've talked about a lot of things about the advantages, disadvantages to the homeowners, to the neighborhoods, all that kind of thing. One thing we hadn't talked about is money. I know that Hot Springs does a really good job. If you give me a little leadway here, I'm leading up to a question about their tourism, how they.
This guy wants his money. That's what he's like. The first thing we didn't talk about is money. Right? Yeah. Boy, that sounds like a freaking old scene from Dukes of Hazzard or some shit.
The city of Hot Springs, what if they ended up with 30% short-term rentals? Just in Hot Springs, for example, or if it happened to several other
Can you turn it up a little bit, Chris?
across the state. And with these short-term
No,
rentals,
we're at the whims of the
as long as
state's
they have to do
audio
something
on this
around
one.
the lake, say maybe 6
Gosh,
months of the year,
horrible.
what's that going to do to them financially? What's that going to do to the housing market? What have we got any idea about what kind of money we're talking about here?
If I understand the question, do you think this will increase or decrease property values?
No, I think it will decrease their income. If you've got short-term rentals, if you had 30% short-term rentals in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and nobody living there for 6 months, nobody buying gas for 6 months, nobody buying groceries, nobody going to entertainment, I think it's going to have a financial impact on a city like Hot Springs. For example,
So again, this is a politician sitting there saying, well, if people aren't renting from a short-term rental, it can have a financial impact. Well, if somebody ain't renting the damn house to begin with, it's going to have a financial impact.
Right.
Studies show that if there's a short-term rental, if you rent it, they will come, right? But no, this is the hill he wants to stand on, right? And he's standing on it. And this is what effectively shuts down the vote on Monday. So keep watching if you ain't watching. There was no vote on Monday. This shut it down. This guy right here. Fucking boss hog. Pardon my French.
Gatlinburg just a few years ago was a really good place to live. Now 90% of their homes are rentals, short-term rentals. So what if somebody's not there 6 months of the year? What's that going to do to that city's finances?
I would maybe objectively argue that if an owner was going to purchase a property and occupy it any versus they themselves not being able to occupy it when they're there, because a lot of these situations, if you look at the statistics, are residents from out of state that maybe want to buy a property, enjoy it for a season, and then be able to continue to output rental, to rent it, to let people stay there to offset their cost. So if they didn't have the ability to rent it, but they still wanted that, it would sit vacant. And then people would not be able to come, and they would not pay the A&P tax. They would not be able to purchase goods and services and keep the tourism economy, because I think overall.
But again, tourism economy is not a sure set thing, Mark. The property taxes are a sure set thing, and your millage rates for your standard city taxes are a sure set thing. And we don't know. We learned this through COVID, right? That some people aren't traveling, right? During COVID, during shutdowns that the government implemented. Can we get a study on that? How much damage you guys did to the local economies of cities whenever you shut down the damn government of Arkansas? Like, nobody wants to sit there and point. No, but you want to do it. You want to pull out one of these hypotheticals. right? Over something that's totally like the free market's going to control, right? And the taxes that are being generated by it being a short-term rental or a long-term rental are negligible whenever we're talking about A&P taxes, right?
Right.
The city's still getting their property taxes and their local millages because the property's in the city. That's it.
Yep.
Why do we need a study? I don't know. Because Boss Hog said so. I don't know.
Well, there's and the other thing too, Chris, is like we talked about this before, and I know STR rental people have said the same thing. They're self-regulating. If there's issues with them and they're not taking care of the people coming there, they're going to get bad reviews, and eventually they're going to get bounced. So the system will weed itself, the bad
It's
apples
a
out.
self-regulating system. You know, if you're doing bad, you're gonna get more rentals. If you're a crappy host, you're not gonna get rentals.
Right.
You know.
Right.
It's crazy that this comes out on this though, and then stymies it till tomorrow. We'll see what happens. Maybe his report's not good enough, and it'll be stymied, and then, well, the legislative session goes away for the rest of the year. And this was just a win for the administration that wants to be representative of people, but stymie people for making a buck.
There's over $12 million in taxes collected. The impact in those communities is favorable. But at the end, the market, in my opinion, regulates most of the stuff we do.
Can I follow up, Mr. Chair?
Absolutely.
I just think that this is gonna impact the state's collection on taxes.
I just want to go on record and say this is going to impact his ability to get money from hotel lobbyists, like for real, because that's what happened during spring break, right? You know, this politician could sit there and act a good game and stuff, but I'm sure he's getting money from the hotel lobby, for real.
Well, we'll see. Well, that has to be disclosed so we can start digging into that, find out where the money's going.
Show your butt. We're going to sniff it out.
If someone's if you're just not there 4 months out of the year, my personal opinion is we haven't had any figures to show what this is going to do to us financially. I think we need an official impact study from DF&A to give us some estimates on these cities. What if a percentage does this? What if it does that? Before we go any further with this, I'd like to see
all this whataboutism's making my head spin. Yep. Somebody launched the rocket, get me off this planet.
Senator, do you have a fiscal impact?
No, we do not. And to answer the question that was raised by Representative Holcomb, people who own short-term rentals are a part of the tax base. So, I mean, in theory, towns are not losing tax revenues. Cities are not losing revenues because individuals are still paying. They're still paying taxes. They're still paying their millage.
There you go. Yay!
Common sense 101. You're still paying your taxes, right?
Municipalities to
right.
Apparently, it's not good enough for this guy.
It does, because if someone's not going to be living in those homes 12 months a year, it's going to impact spending there. So I would request a financial.
No, it isn't. What's he talking?
What a jackass, dude.
Okay,
what a jackass.
Hey, listen, we already found out from Randy was discussing that about how people are going down to Bentonville or going north up into Pineville to spend.
100%. They were.
So regardless,
the market's you have to look at it like this, man. Hot Springs ain't got a lot of places to buy stuff that you need, right? So how is somebody living there or not living there going to impact what they spend? It ain't.
Yeah.
They're going to be ordering stuff off Amazon if they live there.
Right.
That's a reality, right? Or they're going to be driving to the next town over to buy the stuff that they need anyway. There is no impact. People are either there, and you're either collecting property taxes, which is static. It's static, right? You're collecting property taxes. Yep. You're collecting local city taxes for every purchase, or you ain't.
Well, he's confused. He thinks that the STR goes away, then the tax goes away for the property.
It doesn't.
I don't understand why he can't wrap his head around that.
The tax doesn't go away. You're paying property tax.
Right. Right.
You're paying your city taxes.
What does he want to see the impact like in Bella Vista? See if they bought a cheeseburger over at the Dairy Queen, or maybe a donut in the morning over at the donut shop at the plaza.
Most
What are you
people ain't
looking
buying
for,
that
man?
anyway, man. Whatever, boss hog. I mean, like, this guy just comes out left field in the freaking 23rd hour, though, man. He's like, I want an impact study. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Moving along, whatever. It doesn't. That's what effectively shut this vote down on Monday. That's it.
Yeah.
There was no vote. We'll let it play out.
Combined
But
age-
basically, they
combined
say
age-
you have to have this.
Okay,
Combined age up there's like 200 years.
350. They had to get up and deliberate about this. Well, he requested an impact study, so you got to provide it now. We're just following the rules.
Right.
Okay, well, follow the rules. It's crazy that they did it at this hour.
Can't even take this serious
Senator, I
anymore.
believe you have to have a impact statement on this. I would ask you to pull your bill down until you have that impact.
Pull your
statement.
bill down. Okay, so his bill's been pulled down.
Okay, so
Impact statement.
so I'll be able to rerun it on Wednesday
Yes, yes.
with the financial.
So the Senate didn't even ask for an impact study on this, but now the House asked for it. And did you not see the conundrum?
Yeah.
Spring break is the only thing that happened. Hands were shaking. Donations were given. Screw these people.
Well, we always find it. We'll find out. who
Screw
it
these
is.
people.
We always
Screw
do.
these people. Is
We
all
just
I
have to
gotta say.
dig.
Screw these people. Screw them.
Yeah.
Screw them
just need
long
to
and
drill
hard
down
too,
on it.
man, because that's what these people are all about. They only speak about money. He opened his statement that, well, the real question is the question of money. Like
Yeah.
Boss Hog, man.
Meanwhile, we got a $2 billion surplus. You know.
Didn't really talk about money, Boss Hog. Meemaw need something. Give me a break, man. Give me a dang break. I just
just
can't
think
even take
this
it
is-
seriously anymore, man. This is
I'd be
this is
embarrassed,
kangaroo bull stuff right here.
I know. This is why people are fed up with the system. This is a perfect example of this nonsense that just, I mean, that crazy vote that they had, or they called it.
The yays
I mean,
got
it's
it.
just-
No, the nays got it. Oh, because somebody yelled louder. Right? Yeah, that's crazy too. We want a roll call vote. Moving along, we got Donald Trump, man. He did a press conference after being indicted today, man. And you know what? Man, just when's the launch, man? Get me off this rock. When's the launch?
Yeah.
And that was all confirmed strongly by the FBI when they all knew that it wasn't Russian disinformation. And so much more. Our elections were like those of a third world country. And now this massive election interference at a scale never seen before in our country, beginning with the radical left, George Soros-backed prosecutor Alvin Bragg of New York, who campaigned on the fact that he would get President Trump. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him. This is a guy campaigning. He wanted to get President Trump at any cost, and this before he knew anything about me, didn't know a thing about me. He was campaigning. As it turns out, virtually everybody that has looked at this case, including rhinos and even hardcore Democrats, say there is no crime and that it should never have been brought. Never have been brought. Everybody.
A lot of attorneys are saying that, man. This is
Even people
open
that-
and close.
Aren't big fans have
But
said
we
it.
see
They
what's
said this
going
is
on,
not
you
the
know?
right thing to do. It's an insult to our country, as the world is already laughing at us for so many other reasons, like our open borders, our incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan, where we left behind American citizens, $85 billion worth of the best military equipment in the world, lost 13 magnificent young lives, and far too many to mention that are so badly hurt with the loss of arms and legs and facial obliteration. The most embarrassing time in our country's history, in my opinion. Then our give up on energy independence and even energy dominance. We're going to be dominant within 6 months, more than any other nation, times 2.
They want us
We
all
had this all
slaves.
just 3 years ago. Our raging crime statistics, if you look in Democrat-run cities, numbers the likes of which we have never seen before. The open threats by various countries of the use of nuclear weapons, something never mentioned or discussed by outside nations during the Trump administration, and which could very well lead under the Biden administration's leadership to an all-out nuclear World War III can happen. We're not very far away from it, believe it or not. An economy that has been crippled by the biggest inflation we have seen in more than 60 years, and a military that I used to defeat ISIS in 4 weeks. They said it would take 4 years. 4 weeks. To kill al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, that has now gone woke at the top levels by trying to indoctrinate everyone down to the lowest ranking patriot. But now they have really stepped up their efforts by indicting the 45th President of the United States, who received $75 million votes, which is more than any sitting president in the history of our country. And in the wings, they've got a local racist Democrat district attorney in Atlanta who is doing everything in her power to indict me over an absolutely perfect phone call, even more perfect than the one I made with the president of Ukraine. Remember, I kept saying, that's a perfect call. This one was more perfect. Nobody said, sir, you shouldn't say that. Many people on the phone were hung up in disgust because of something I inappropriately said, because nothing was said wrong. In fact, at the end of the call, we agreed to continue our conversation about election fraud, and election fraud specifically in Georgia, at a later time. Many people on the phone, including lots of lawyers, nobody
there ain't no
found
election
anything
fraud
wrong
in
with that
Georgia.
perfect call until a book promotion tour many months later. All of a sudden they say, you know, I remember Trump making a call. Let's look at that. This fake case was brought only to interfere with the upcoming 2024 election, and it should be dropped immediately.
It should. All this should be dropped immediately, man. This is happening during Holy Week. It's very reminiscent of the seething hate that people have in their hearts going after Jesus Christ. If you remember biblically, Pilate found no fault in what Jesus Christ had done, and yet the people were screaming, "Crucify him!" Pilate actually released a heathen. I'm trying to remember his name. It starts with a B. Barbarous. Because the people said release him versus releasing Jesus Christ. Because, obviously he was the bigger threat. And our judicial system is doing the same thing. I find the parallels crazy. I don't hold Donald Trump in a Christ-like position either, Mark, at all, right? Like,
Right.
I mean, like, he's a man. He has his faults. He is, but the ideological value of watching people sit here and seethe with venom and spit and hate for another human being. And it draws me back to the time when Jesus said, he who's without sin throw the first stone, right? We're all full of sin, man. We really are. But the spit vipers that we have in this world, wanting to sit here and go after a man for having the moral courage to stand up to how corrupt everything has become, versus, I don't know. Maybe let's just start with this. We know that the FBI concealed information regarding the Hunter Biden laptop, but we're going to talk about Donald Trump and his payoffs to his attorney, up to 36 counts being felonies, because, well, the people needed to know about this. But yet, okay, let's apply the same logic, right? We know the laptop was real. We know the contents of the laptop was real. We all know that. But we're not going to talk about that, right? Where's the indictments?
Yeah.
Where they at?
Yeah, this is blatant targeting, and what concerns me out here is it should concern every American is the fact that you could be up there, right?
You can target me all you want, bro. I'm just going to tell you, man, I'll give you a black eye at a minimum. At a minimum.
But you understand, you're taking a judicial system and targeting people with it.
Yeah. Well, like they were doing with the parents that were speaking out at school board meetings and stuff. I mean, like, that's truth. That's fact.
Right.
This is the weaponization of systems that keep us all safe.
Right.
And that's the question.
And this is why we have a constitution.
Are we cool with this? Are we cool with this?
I'm not. No.
I ain't cool.
I don't care who it is. I don't care if it was a Democrat,
it doesn't matter
Republican.
if it was Hillary, man. I would not be cool with this. Right?
No.
It doesn't.
Absolutely not. No.
About time to put your big girl or your big boy panties on. And you got to say, what am I cool with? There is a line that is being crossed in this country.
Well, it's a blatant overreach of power, right?
No,
I see
there's
people.
A line that's being crossed.
Right.
You're the governed. You will comply. That's the line.
Yep.
I'm not complying with nothing. You work for me. And that's the reality of it. All of y'all work for me. That's it.
Yep.
There's no bending of that. You don't get clout. It's called public service.
Right. No, totally agree. The sad part about this is this witch hunt's going to cost millions of dollars in legal fees and everything else, which the taxpayers will pick up. I mean, this is what happens. But
they'll just print more, man. They'll print more.
Yeah.
They've proven that with Ukraine, right? It's not about money, right? They'll just print more. They'll give more to the Ukraine. You see how screwed up all of this is. They were leveraging your future, your kids' future, your grandchildren's future, just to prove a point that we're in charge.
Right.
You ain't in charge of nothing. You never will. You never will be.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because our Constitution starts with what? We the people. That's the reality of all of this. Quit being, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound extreme or nothing, but quit being a little bitch. Quit being it.
It's frustrating. It
is. It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. I'm sick of it. I really am.
Yeah. I mean, you look at what's going on now, and I can't even remember a time ever being like this, ever. Any president, any sitting president, ever in my lifetime.
I can never in my lifetime recall a time like this, Mark. And it's at this point, in my adult life and what I've done for this country, I'm not playing the game no more.
Yeah.
I'm not. And a lot of people need to start waking up real quick and just saying, you know what? You have no power over me. I have all the power over you. Yeah, it's going to take some court. It's going to take some time in court. For real. Right?
Yep.
But they don't even want to deal with that. They're banking on the fact that you're just going to be like you're going to roll over. I'm not rolling over.
Right.
It's time to knuckle up. Start speaking truth.
Yep.
And not putting up with it. That's the reality of all of this. Your
putting your head
complacency
in
with all of this has empowered them, the Doug Fowlers of the world, to sit here and crap on your constitutional rights. It really has.
Yeah. Yeah, putting your head in the
No
sand
more.
and ignoring what's going on around you doesn't help things. It definitely doesn't, you know?
We've always said it, man. There'll come a time when you're going to need people to have your back. Did you stand up for them whenever they needed you to have their back?
Right.
We always have.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
We're going to call it, brother. NWAexchange.com. Our podcast is a small podcast, but we encourage like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Make sure you reach out to our merch shop. If you guys want to support the show, we'll catch you on the next one. Mark, any final words?
No, I appreciate anybody tuning in tonight. We're going to get these storms in. They're going to come in early tomorrow morning and hunker down, man.
Or just go out there and scream, America! Right? Heck yeah. Wind blowing, flag in the air. Yeah. Do what you can handle. That's all I always. That's what I tell people, man. Do what you think your butt can handle.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it works out in the wash.
Yep, for sure.
Till the next one, y'all. We love you.
Take care, everybody.
Later.
If you feel like you've been down the same road.